The morning sky over New York City turned dark. Not with clouds, but with ships. Huge metal ships that blocked out the sun. People on the streets stopped walking. They looked up. They pointed. Some took pictures with their phones. Commander Vexthara stood on the bridge of her ship. She was tall and blue, with 4 arms and big black eyes. Her ship was the biggest of all the ships in the sky. It was called the Star Crusher. She had used this ship to take over 23 planets. Earth would be number 24. "Show me the scan results," she said to her officer. The screen lit up with green dots. Each dot was a human city. 7 billion humans on this planet, the officer said. They have basic weapons. No energy shields, no space weapons. This will be easy. Vexthara smiled. Her teeth were sharp. Send the first attack ships down. Target the big cities first, make them scared, and they will give up without a fight. Down in Central Park, Jake Morrison was having lunch with his wife. He was a soldier on leave from the army. When the ships appeared, he knew what they meant. War was coming. "Mary, we need to go." "Now," he said. "But Jake, what about all the people?" Mary asked. She was looking at the crowds of people who were taking pictures and videos. Jake grabbed her hand. "The people who stand around and watch are going to die first. We need to move." They ran toward the subway station. All around them, other people were starting to panic. Cars honked their horns. People screamed. The alien ships got lower and lower. In another part of the city, Lisa Rodriguez was at her office. She was a police captain. When she saw the ships, she grabbed her radio. "All units, this is Captain Rodriguez. We have an emergency. Unknown aircraft. Over the city. I repeat, unknown aircraft. All officers report to your stations now." But before anyone could answer, the ships started to attack. Blue lights came down from the ships. Where the lights hit, buildings exploded. Cars melted. The street itself turned into glass. People who were hit by the lights just disappeared. Lisa ran to the window. She could see people running in all directions. But she also saw something else. Some people were not running. They were hiding. They were getting under things. They were moving in ways that made them hard to see. Jake and Mary made it to the subway tunnel. Other people were there too. A man named Ben Carter was organizing them. "Listen up," Ben said. He was older than Jake. He had been in many fights. "These things are not from here. They want to kill us, but we can fight back. We just need to be smart about it." "How do we fight ships like that?" a woman asked. Ben smiled. "We don't fight the ships. We fight the soldiers when they come down, and they will come down. They always do." Jake looked around the tunnel. There were about 50 people there. Old people, young people, kids. "What's your plan?" he asked Ben. "Hide and wait," Ben said. "These aliens think they know everything about us, but they don't know the most important thing." "What's that?" Mary asked. "Humans are really good at hiding. We have been hiding from things that want to eat us for millions of years. It's in our blood." Up in the sky, Vexthara was getting reports from her attack ships. "Commander, we have a problem," her officer said. "What kind of problem?" "The humans are gone." "Gone? What do you mean gone?" "We destroyed their buildings. We hit their cars, but we are not finding bodies. It's like they just disappeared." Vexthara looked at the screen. The green dots that showed human cities were still there, but her ships were reporting empty streets. "Run another scan. Check for underground spaces." The officer worked on his controls. "There are subway tunnels, sewer systems, basement levels, but our scans show they are mostly empty too." "That's impossible. 7 billion humans don't just vanish." But they had. All over the world, humans were doing what they did best. They were hiding. In tunnels, in forests, in buildings that looked empty but weren't. They were using skills that their ancestors had used to hide from lions and bears and other humans who wanted to hurt them. The aliens had better weapons. They had better ships. They had better technology. But they had never learned how to hide. And they had never fought an enemy that could become invisible without any technology at all. Jake looked at the other people in the tunnel. They were scared, but they were listening to Ben. They were learning. And somewhere up above, alien soldiers were getting ready to come down and look for them. The hunt was about to begin. But the aliens didn't know that they were not the hunters. They were about to become the hunted. 3 days had passed since the aliens landed. Vexthara stood in her command room, staring at reports that made no sense. Her soldiers controlled every major city on Earth. They had set up bases. They had put their flag on important buildings. But something was wrong. "Commander, we lost another patrol," her officer said. "Lost how?" "They just stopped talking to us. We found their vehicles empty. No bodies, no signs of fighting. It's like they walked away from their posts." Vexthara hit her desk with her fist. "Humans don't have cloaking technology. Our scans would detect it. So where are they?" Down in the subway tunnels under New York, Ben Carter was teaching Jake and the others how to move without being seen. The tunnel was dark, but they had learned to work in the dark. "The key is to think like an animal," Ben said. "Animals don't stomp around making noise. They move slow. They stop often. They listen." Jake practiced walking without making sound. It was harder than it looked. "How do you know all this stuff, Ben?" "I was a hunter before I was a soldier," Ben said. "My grandfather taught me. His grandfather taught him. It goes back a long way. Humans have always been good at hiding." Mary was learning too. She had found some old clothes in the tunnel. Dirty clothes, torn clothes. "Why do we need to wear these?" she asked. "Because clean clothes stand out," Ben explained. "Anything that looks new or different will catch their eye. We need to look like part of the background." In another part of the city, Lisa Rodriguez was working with a group of police officers. They had found a way to move through the city without being detected. They used the sewers, old subway lines that weren't on any map, in building basements that connected to each other. "The aliens have good eyes," Lisa told her team, "but they see things differently than we do. Colors that look normal to us might look strange to them, and colors that look strange to us might be invisible to them." "Officer." Tim Brady had been experimenting with paint. "Captain, look at this." He had painted his face with mud and charcoal. I walked right past an alien guard post. They looked right at me and didn't see me. Lisa studied Tim's face. The pattern looked random, but it worked. "How did you figure this out?" "My dad was in Vietnam. He told me stories about how they painted their faces in the jungle. I just tried the same thing." Amy Chun was in a different part of the city. She was a soldier who had been home on leave when the aliens came. Now she was trapped behind enemy lines. But she was learning to use that to her advantage. She had found a building that looked empty from the outside, but inside she had made a small hiding place. She had food, water, and weapons she had taken from abandoned police cars. Most importantly, she had patience. Amy could stay in her hiding place for hours without moving. She would watch alien patrols through a small hole in the wall. She learned their patterns. She learned their habits. She learned their weaknesses. Aliens always walked in straight lines. They always checked the same places. They never looked up. They never looked down. They expected enemies to fight like they did, standing up, facing forward, making noise. But Amy didn't fight like that. When she moved, she crawled. When she attacked, she came from behind. When she was done, she disappeared before they knew. What happened? Back in the tunnel, Ben was showing the group something important. "The aliens have machines that can see heat," he said. "Our bodies are warm. Their machines can spot that heat even in the dark. So how do we hide from their machines?" Jake asked. Ben pulled out some silver blankets. They looked like the emergency blankets that hikers carried. "These reflect heat back. If you wrap up in one of these, their machines can't see you." Mary wrapped herself in one of the blankets. "I feel like a burrito." Ben laughed. "A burrito? That can't be seen by alien technology. That's what we want." But the best discovery came from an unexpected source. A teenager named Sam Johnson had been living on the streets before the aliens came. He knew how to stay hidden from police, from social workers, from anyone who was looking for him. "The thing about hiding," Sam told the group, "is that most people don't really look. They see what they expect to see. If you act like you belong somewhere, most people will believe you belong there." Sam had walked right through alien checkpoints by acting like he was supposed to be there. He moved with confidence. He didn't run or hide. He just walked like he had every right to be there. "But how does that work with aliens?" Jake asked. "Same way," Sam said. "They're looking for scared humans who are running and hiding. They're not looking for humans who act normal. So I act normal, and they don't see me." Up on her ship, Vexthara was getting more bad news. "Commander, we've lost contact with Base 7. "What happened?" "Unknown." The guards reported everything. Normal at their last check. Now no one answers our calls. Vexthara looked at the tactical display. Red dots showed where her forces were supposed to be. But she was starting to doubt those dots meant anything. "Send a reconnaissance team to check on Base 7. An hour later, the reconnaissance team reported back. "Commander, Base 7 is empty. All equipment is still here. No signs of fighting. But our soldiers are gone." "Gone where?" "We don't know. Commander, it's like they just walked away." But Vexthara's soldiers hadn't walked away. They had been taken one by humans who moved like shadows. Humans who appeared from nowhere, struck without warning, and vanished without a trace. The aliens had come to Earth expecting to fight a primitive species with primitive weapons. Instead, they found themselves fighting ghosts who knew every hiding place, every shadow, every way to become invisible. The war was just beginning. But already, the aliens were learning to be afraid of the dark. 2 weeks had passed since the invasion began. Vexthara was no longer confident about her easy victory. She paced back and forth in her command room, looking at reports that got worse every day. "How many patrols have we lost this week?" she asked her tactical officer. 17, Commander. "And we've lost 3 supply convoys. The humans are taking our weapons and vehicles. But our sensors show no human forces in those areas." "That's correct, Commander. Our scans detect no life signs, no heat signatures, no electromagnetic activity. But somehow, our forces are still disappearing." Vexthara stared at the planet below. What kind of species can hide from our technology? Down on Earth, humans were learning to fight a new kind of war. Jake Morrison crouched in a pile of rubble that had once been a coffee shop. He had been hiding there for 6 hours, waiting for an alien patrol to pass by. The aliens walked past him 3 times. They were only 10 feet away, but they couldn't see him. Jake had covered himself with broken concrete, twisted metal, and garbage. To their eyes, he looked like part of the rubble. When the patrol finally moved on, Jake slowly emerged from his hiding spot. He had been studying the aliens' movements for days. They always took the same route. They always stopped at the same places. They were a predictable dot in another part of the city. Lisa Rodriguez was teaching her officers a new skill. "The aliens can't see us if we move at the right speed," she explained. "Too fast, and their motion detectors pick us up. Too slow, and they get suspicious." But there's a speed that's just right. Officer Tim Brady tried it. He moved across the open street at a steady pace, not too fast, not too slow. The alien sentries looked right at him, but their brains didn't register him as a threat. He looked like a piece of debris blowing in the wind. "How is that possible?" another officer asked. "Their brains work differently than ours," Lisa said. "They evolved on a different planet. They look for different things. What seems obvious to us is invisible to them." Amy Chun had become an expert at this new kind of fighting. She had learned to move through the city like a ghost. She could crawl under cars, slip through broken windows, and hide in shadows so small that other humans couldn't see her. But Amy's best trick was something she called body language camouflage. She had noticed that the aliens ignored certain types of movement. If she moved like she was hurt, limping and stumbling, they saw her as harmless. If she moved like she was confused, looking around randomly, they thought she was just another scared human. "The key," Amy explained to a group of survivors, "is to make them think you're not a threat. Act scared, act confused, act helpless. They'll ignore you." Ben Carter had made an important discovery in the subway tunnels. The alien scanning equipment couldn't see through certain types of metal. Old lead pipes, steel beams, and copper wiring created blind spots in their sensors. "We can use the city's own bones to hide us," Ben told his group. "Every building has metal in it. Every street has pipes under it. We just need to learn where the blind spots are." Jake learned to map these blind spots. He could move through the city by jumping from one blind spot to another. To anyone watching, he would appear for a moment, then vanish and appear somewhere else. The aliens couldn't track him because their sensors couldn't follow him through the metal. Mary had found her own way to help. She had always been good at arts and crafts. Now she was using those skills to help people hide. She could take ordinary clothes and make them look like anything else. A jacket became tree bark. A shirt became concrete. Pants became rusty metal. "It's all about breaking up the shape," Mary explained. "The aliens recognize human shapes. But if you break up that shape with colors and patterns, their eyes can't put it back together." Sam Johnson had become a master of social camouflage. He could walk through alien checkpoints by acting like he belonged there. He had learned to copy the way the aliens moved, the way they stood, even the sounds they made. "They're not that smart," Sam told the others. "They see what they expect to see. If you act like you're supposed to be there, they believe you." But the most important discovery came from an unexpected source. Dr. Helen Murphy was a biologist who had been studying animal behavior when the aliens arrived. She had noticed something important about human camouflage abilities. "We're naturally good at this," Dr. Murphy explained to a group of survivors. "Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We didn't chase our prey and kill it quickly like other predators. We followed it for days, staying hidden, wearing it down. That's why we're so good at hiding. But the aliens are more advanced than us." Someone said, "Technologically, yes," Dr. Murphy agreed. "But evolution is smarter than technology. We've been perfecting the art of hiding for millions of years. They've been relying on their machines for only thousands of years." Up on her ship, Vexthara was beginning to understand what she was facing. Her science officer had been studying human behavior patterns. "Commander, I think I know what's happening," the science officer said. "Explain." "The humans aren't using technology to hide from us. They're using biology. Their species evolved on a planet where everything was trying to kill them. They learned to hide as a survival skill." Vexthara looked at the data. "Are you saying they can naturally do what our cloaking devices do artificially?" "Better, Commander. Our cloaking devices can be detected by the right sensors. But the humans are using techniques that our sensors weren't designed to detect. They're hiding in plain sight. This was a new kind of warfare. The aliens had conquered other planets by destroying their armies and taking their cities. But on Earth, there were no armies to destroy. There were no cities to take. There were only ghosts, who struck without warning and vanished without trace. The humans were fighting a war of patience. They could wait for hours, days, even weeks for the right moment to strike. They could hide in places so uncomfortable that alien soldiers would never think to look there. They could move so slowly that they seemed like part of the landscape. As night fell over the city, Vexthara realized that her forces were not occupying Earth. They were trapped on it. Every shadow could hide an enemy. Every sound could be a trap. Every moment of silence could be the calm before an attack. The hunters had become the hunted, and the aliens were beginning to understand that they were in a fight they didn't know how to win. 1 month into the occupation, something had changed in the alien forces. Vexthara could see it in her soldiers' eyes when they returned from patrol. Fear. Her species had never known fear like this before. "Commander, the troops are requesting permission to patrol only in groups of 50 or more," her tactical officer reported. 50? Our standard patrol is 12 soldiers. Yes, Commander. But smaller groups keep disappearing. The soldiers are afraid to go out in small numbers. Vexthara studied the casualty reports. In 4 weeks, she had lost over 300 soldiers. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that she had no idea how they were dying. Down. In the city, Chris Blake was setting up his most ambitious trap yet. He was a former Marine who had learned that the best way to catch an enemy was to give them something they wanted. Chris and his team had spent 3 days preparing what looked like a human supply cache. They had put food, weapons, and medical supplies in an abandoned warehouse. They had even added heat sources and electronic signals that would show up on alien scanners. But the real trap wasn't the supplies. The real trap was the 30 human fighters hidden in holes around the warehouse. They had dug these holes carefully, lining them with materials that blocked alien sensors. Each hole was barely big enough for one person, but a human could lie in one for hours without being detected. Morrison was in one of those holes. He had been lying there for 6 hours, breathing through a small tube that led to the surface. His hole was so close to the warehouse entrance that he could reach out and touch alien boots when they walked by. The aliens took the bait. A patrol of 20 soldiers entered the warehouse to investigate the supplies. They spread out in a standard search pattern, checking corners and looking for threats. They never saw the humans rise from the ground around them. Jake came up behind an alien sentry, moving so quietly that the alien never heard him. The alien was studying the supplies, trying to figure out if they were real or fake. He never got the chance to report his findings. All around the warehouse, humans appeared from holes that had seemed like empty ground moments before. The aliens found themselves surrounded by enemies who had materialized from nowhere. The fight was over in minutes. But the psychological effect would last much longer. In another part of the city, Rachel Martinez had perfected a technique that the aliens would later describe in their reports as terrain possession. She could cross open ground in broad daylight without being seen by using natural and artificial cover. Rachel would study a route for hours before moving. She would note every shadow, every piece of debris, every change in the ground level. Then she would move from cover to cover so smoothly that watching aliens couldn't track her movement. But Rachel's real skill was patience. She could lie motionless behind a small piece of concrete for an entire day, waiting for the right moment to move to the next piece of cover. She moved like water, flowing around obstacles, always taking the path of least resistance. The aliens had sensors that could detect a mouse from a mile away, but they couldn't detect a human who moved like part of the landscape itself. Amy, Chun had become something that the alien reports called a night demon. She had learned to fight in complete darkness, using senses that the aliens didn't have. Amy could hear an alien's heartbeat from 50 feet away. She could smell their fierce sweat. She could feel the vibrations of their footsteps through the ground. In the dark, she was more dangerous than any weapon. The aliens had night vision technology that was better than human eyes. But Amy didn't rely on her eyes. She had learned to fight blind, using touch and sound and smell to locate her targets. Darkness is a human's friend, Amy explained to a group of new fighters. We evolved to be active at night. Our ancestors hunted at night, traveled at night, fought at night. The aliens are afraid of the dark because they never had to learn to use it. Ben Carter had made another important discovery. The aliens were creatures of habit. They liked routine. They liked predictability. They liked to do the same things, in the same ways every day. That's their weakness, Ben told his group. Humans are adaptable. We can change our plans in the middle of a fight. We can improvise. We can do unexpected things. The aliens can't. Ben proved this by setting up a series of false patterns. He would have his people do the same thing in the same place for several days. The aliens would learn to expect it. Then, on the day of the attack, Ben's people would do something completely different. The aliens couldn't adapt fast enough. Their training told them to expect one thing, but reality gave them something else. By the time they figured out what was happening, it was too late. Mary had become an expert in what she called emotional camouflage. She had learned that the aliens could sense human emotions, especially fear and anger. But they couldn't sense calm determination. Don't be afraid, Mary taught other humans. Don't be angry. Be calm. Be patient. Be like a rock or a tree. Rocks and trees don't have emotions, so the aliens ignore them. Mary could walk past alien sentries by emptying her mind of all emotion. She would think about boring things, math problems, grocery lists, old TV shows. Her emotional signature became so flat that the aliens' empathic sensors couldn't detect her. Sam Johnson had learned something even more disturbing. The aliens were starting to shoot at shadows. They were firing their weapons at empty buildings, abandoned cars, and piles of debris. They're losing it, Sam reported to the others. They're so scared that they're seeing humans everywhere, even when there's nobody there. This fear was spreading through the alien forces like a disease. Soldiers who had been confident and disciplined were now jumping at every sound, firing at every movement, calling for backup every time they saw something they couldn't explain. Doctor Murphy had been studying this phenomenon. It's called paranoid breakdown, she explained. It happens when a predator species suddenly finds itself being hunted. Their minds can't handle the role reversal. Up on her ship, Vexthara was getting reports that would have been funny if they weren't so serious. Her soldiers were claiming to see humans in impossible places, humans walking through walls, humans appearing and disappearing like smoke, humans who could fly. Are our soldiers having hallucinations? She asked her medical officer. Possibly, Commander. The stress of this campaign is unlike anything our species has experienced. We've always been the hunters. Now we're the prey. Our minds aren't equipped to handle that. But Vexthara suspected that some of the reports might be real. These humans were doing things that seemed impossible. Maybe they really could walk through walls. Maybe they really could appear and disappear like smoke. Late at night, when her ship was quiet, Vexthara would look down at the dark planet below and wonder what was down there in the shadows. How many humans were hiding in places her sensors couldn't detect? How many were moving through the darkness, planning their next attack? For the first time in her life, Vexthara was afraid of the dark. And she knew that her soldiers felt the same way. The humans had turned Earth into a haunted house. Every shadow could hide an enemy. Every sound could be a threat. Every moment of silence could be the last thing an alien soldier ever heard. War had become a battle for sanity, and the aliens were losing. 6 weeks after the invasion began, Vexthara received a report that changed everything. Her chief science officer entered the command room with data that made no sense. "Commander, we've been studying human military history," the science officer said. "We found something disturbing." "What did you find?" "Humans have been fighting wars against their own species for thousands of years. They've developed techniques for hiding, hunting, and killing that we never encountered on other worlds." Vexthara looked at the historical data. Images of human soldiers hiding in jungles, deserts, and cities. Humans who could lie motionless for days. Humans who could kill silently and disappear without trace. "Are you saying this species is naturally adapted for guerrilla warfare?" "More than adapted, Commander. They perfected it. Every human on this planet is potentially a master of stealth combat. They don't need training. It's in their genetics." This explained everything. Why human children could hide better than alien soldiers. Why human civilians could disappear from secured areas. Why old humans and young humans could both become invisible. When they needed to dot down on Earth, Andy Foster was coordinating the largest hiding operation in human history. He was a colonel who had been visiting New York when the aliens invaded. Now he was running a resistance network that spanned the entire city. Andy's command post was in the subway system, but not in any tunnel that appeared on official maps. His people had found connections between old subway lines, sewer systems, and building foundations. They had created a hidden city underneath the regular city. "Status report," Andy asked his communication officer. "All cells are operational, Colonel. Manhattan Cell has eliminated 12 alien patrols this week. Brooklyn Cell took out a supply convoy. Queens Cell destroyed an alien communication post. Casualties? 0, sir? We haven't lost a single person in 2 weeks." This was the miracle of human camouflage. Aliens were dying every day, but humans were almost impossible to kill because they were almost impossible to find. Kelly Morgan was Andy's best scout. She could move through alien-controlled territory like she was invisible. Her secret was understanding alien psychology. "They think like conquerors," Kelly explained to a new group of scouts. "Conquerors expect their enemies to fight like armies. Big groups, organized attacks, clear battle lines. They don't know how to fight individuals who act independently." Kelly had walked through alien checkpoints dozens of times. She would dress like a refugee, act scared and helpless, and the aliens would wave her through without a second look. They were looking for soldiers, not civilians. They couldn't imagine that every civilian might be a potential soldier. But Kelly's most important discovery was about alien communication. "They talk to each other constantly," she told Andy. "They report everything they see, everything they do, everything they think. That's their weakness." "How is communication a weakness?" "Because we can listen. And when we know what they're going to do before they do it, we can be ready for them." Jake Morrison had become a specialist in what he called predictive ambushes. He would listen to alien communications, figure out where they were going, and get there first. Jake's team would set up in positions that looked empty to alien scouts. But when the main force arrived, they would find themselves walking into a trap that seemed to materialize from nowhere. The aliens couldn't understand how humans always seemed to know where they were going. They changed their plans, used coded communications, even chose routes randomly. But somehow, the humans were always waiting for them. Mary had discovered something important about alien vision. "They see in different colors than we do," she told the camouflage team. "What looks invisible to us might stand out to them, but what stands out to us might be invisible to them." Mary had experimented with different color combinations until She found patterns that were literally invisible to alien eyes. Humans wearing these patterns could stand in plain sight without being detected. "It's like being a ghost," one of Mary's volunteers said after walking past an alien guard post. They looked right at me and saw nothing. Amy Chun had pushed her night fighting skills to a new level. She had learned to move through alien bases in complete darkness, taking out sentries and stealing equipment without anyone knowing she had been there. Amy's greatest achievement was infiltrating the aliens' main communication center. She had spent 3 nights studying the building, learning the guard patterns, finding the weak points. On the 4th night, she slipped inside, planted listening devices in their communication equipment, and left without being detected. Now the humans could hear every alien communication in the city. Ben Carter had made his most important discovery yet. "The aliens have a fatal flaw," he told his team. "They can't imagine being wrong." "What do you mean?" "Their technology tells them there are no humans in an area, so they believe there are no humans. Their sensors say a building is empty, so they assume it's empty. They trust their machines more than their instincts." Ben had used this flaw to devastating effect. He would hide his people in places where alien sensors said no one could hide. Spaces that were too small, too hot, too cold, or too dangerous for life. But humans could survive in these spaces long enough to launch surprise attacks. Up on her ship, Vexthara was facing a crisis. Her ground commander had just requested permission to withdraw all forces to fortified positions. "Commander, we can't patrol the city anymore," the ground commander reported. "My soldiers are afraid to leave their bases. Every time we send out a patrol, some of them don't come back." "How many soldiers have we lost?" "Over 500, Commander. And we haven't seen a single human army. We don't even know who we're fighting." Vexthara looked at the tactical display. Her forces controlled every important building in every major city on Earth. But somehow they were losing the war. "What do the humans want?" she asked. "We don't know, Commander. They haven't made any demands. They haven't tried to negotiate. They just keep attacking." "Then what's their strategy?" The ground commander was quiet for a moment. "I think their strategy is to make us leave, Commander. They're not trying to defeat us in battle. They're trying to make us too afraid to stay." And it was working. Vexthara's soldiers were requesting transfers to other campaigns. Her officers were reporting stress-related breakdowns. Her medical staff was treating more cases of combat fatigue than combat injuries. Dr. Murphy had been studying the psychological effects of the war on both sides. "The aliens are experiencing something their species has never felt before," she told Andy. "Helplessness. They have all the power, but they can't use it effectively against an enemy they can't see. And how are we doing?" "Better than I expected. Humans are naturally resilient. We've been dealing with predators and threats for millions of years. This is just another threat to adapt to." But Dr. Murphy had noticed something else. The humans are changing too. They're becoming something new, more patient, more observant, more dangerous. This war is turning ordinary people into perfect hunters. Late at night, Vexthara would stand at her observation window and look down at the dark planet below. Somewhere in that darkness, millions of humans were hiding, waiting, planning. They were invisible, but she could feel them watching her. For the first time in her career, Vexthara began to consider the possibility that she might lose this war. Not because her forces were defeated, but because they were too afraid to fight. The humans had found the one weapon that could defeat Superior. Technology, fear, and they were using it with devastating effectiveness. 2 months after the invasion, Vexthara made a decision that would have been unthinkable when she first arrived at Earth. She called for reinforcements. "High Command, this is Commander Vexthara requesting immediate military support." She transmitted to the Zephyrian home fleet. Commander, your reports indicate total control of the target planet. Why do you need reinforcements? Came the reply. Vexthara paused. How could she explain that she controlled nothing? The humans are using unconventional warfare tactics. My forces are taking heavy casualties. Casualties from primitive weapons? No, High Command. Casualties from techniques we've never encountered. These humans can become invisible without technology. They can appear and disappear at will. They're not fighting like any species we've conquered before. Down on Earth, the humans were preparing for their most ambitious operation yet. Andy Foster had been planning it for weeks. It was called The Great Vanishing, and it would show the aliens something they had never seen before. Today, we disappear completely, Andy told his commanders. Not just individuals, not just small groups. All of us. The entire human resistance. Jake Morrison studied the plan. Colonel, that's over 10,000 people in this city alone. How do we hide that many people from their sensors? The same way we've been hiding smaller groups, Andy replied. But bigger. The plan was simple but brilliant. Every human fighter in the city would go to ground at exactly the same time. They would use all the camouflage techniques they had learned, all the hiding places they had discovered, all the sensor-blocking methods they had developed to the aliens. It would look like every human on Earth had simply vanished. Kelly Morgan was coordinating the communication blackout. At 0 hour, all radios go silent, she told her team. No transmissions, no signals, no electromagnetic signatures. We become electronically invisible, too. The aliens relied heavily on intercepting human communications. When those communications suddenly stopped, they would have no way to track human movements or predict human actions. Lisa Rodriguez was in charge of the visual disappearance. Remember, it's not enough to hide from their sensors, she told her. Officers, we need to hide from their eyes, too. No movement, no light reflection, no shadow displacement. Her people had practiced this for weeks. They could lie motionless for 12 hours or more, breathing slowly, hearts beating steadily. Becoming part of the landscape they hid in Dot Mary had prepared special camouflage for the operation. These patterns will make you invisible to alien vision, she explained as she handed out the specially painted clothing. But more importantly, they'll make you forgettable. Even if an alien sees you, their brain won't register you as important. Amy Chun was responsible for night operations. During the blackout, some of you will need to move, she told her team. Remember, darkness is our friend. Use it. Become it. Amy had taught dozens of humans to move like shadows. They could cross open ground in complete silence, navigate by touch and sound alone, and strike targets without being detected. Ben Carter had found the perfect hiding places for the operation. The aliens think they know every place a human can hide, he said, but they're wrong. They don't understand human adaptability. Ben's people would hide in spaces too small for alien bodies, in environments too harsh for alien physiology, in locations too uncomfortable for alien psychology. They would become invisible by going where aliens couldn't follow Dot at exactly noon. The Great Vanishing began. On Vexthara's ship, the tactical officer watched his screens in confusion. Commander, I'm getting strange readings from the surface. What kind of readings? All human life signs just disappeared from our sensors. That's impossible. Run a full diagnostic on the sensor array. The diagnostic came back clean. The sensors were working perfectly. But according to the instruments, there were no humans left on Earth. Vexthara stared at the empty screens. Check the major cities. Check the hideouts we've identified. Check everywhere. Her officers ran scan after scan. The results were always the same. No human heat signatures. No human electronic devices. No human communications. No human movement. Commander. It's like they all just died at the same time, one officer reported. But Vexthara knew they weren't dead. Somehow, impossibly, 10 billion humans had made themselves invisible to the most advanced detection technology in the galaxy. Down in his hiding place beneath Central Park, Jake Morrison counted the hours. He was lying in a space barely large. Enough for his body, wrapped in heat-blocking materials, breathing through a filtered tube. He had food and water for 3 days. All around the city. Thousands of other humans were doing the same thing. They were invisible, silent, and patient. They had become ghosts in their own world. The psychological effect on the alien forces was immediate and devastating. Patrols that had been attacked daily now walked through empty streets. Bases that had been under constant surveillance now seemed abandoned. Commanders who had been fighting an invisible enemy now faced complete silence. Where did they go? Alien soldiers asked each other. Maybe they gave up, some suggested. Maybe they're planning something big, others worried. But the truth was, simpler and more frightening. The humans hadn't gone anywhere. They were still there, still watching, still waiting. They had just become completely invisible. On the second day of the Great Vanishing, Vexthara's forces began to relax. Maybe the humans really had given up. Maybe the resistance was over. That's when the attacks began again. Supply convoys that thought they were traveling through empty territory suddenly came under fire from invisible enemies. Patrols walking through supposedly abandoned areas found themselves surrounded by humans who seemed to materialize from solid ground. The aliens realized that the humans hadn't disappeared. They had simply become better at hiding than anyone thought possible. "Commander, we have a problem," the ground commander reported. "The humans are back, but now we can't detect them at all. Our sensors are useless." "How can you fight an enemy you can't see?" Vexthara asked. "We can't, Commander. Our soldiers are afraid to leave their bases. They know the humans are out there, but they don't know where." Dr. Murphy watched the alien response from her hidden observation post. "They're breaking down," she reported to Andy. "Their entire military doctrine is based on technological superiority. When their technology fails, they don't know how to adapt." "And how are our people doing?" Andy asked. "Better than I expected. Humans are incredibly adaptable. We're not just hiding from the aliens anymore. We're becoming something they can't comprehend." The Great Vanishing lasted for 1 week. When it ended, something had changed in both humans and aliens. The humans had learned that they could disappear completely when they needed to. They had mastered the art of becoming invisible, not just to alien technology, but to alien understanding. The aliens had learned that they were fighting an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. An enemy they could control when and how it could be seen. An enemy that could choose to exist or not exist according to its own will. Vexthara looked at her casualty reports and realized the truth. She wasn't losing soldiers to superior human weapons. She was losing them to superior human psychology. The humans had turned Earth into a planet of ghosts. And ghosts, she was learning, were very difficult to conquer. 3 months after the invasion began, Vexthara faced the hardest decision of her military career. She stood in her command room, looking at reports that told a story no Zephyrian commander had ever had to tell. "High Command, this is Commander. Vexthara requesting permission to withdraw from the Sol system," she transmitted. The response came quickly. "Request denied, Commander. You have overwhelming technological superiority. Complete the conquest." "High Command, I have lost over 800 soldiers to an enemy I cannot see, cannot track, and cannot predict. My remaining forces are combat ineffective due to psychological breakdown." "Explain." Vexthara chose her words carefully. "The humans have capabilities we did not anticipate. They can become invisible to our sensors. They can appear and disappear. At will, they can strike without warning and vanish without trace. My soldiers are afraid to leave their bases. There was a long pause. Are you saying you cannot defeat a primitive species? I am saying that this species is not primitive in the ways that matter for warfare. Down on Earth, Andy Foster received the intelligence report he had been waiting for. Colonel, are listening. Posts are picking up communications between the alien ships, Kelly Morgan reported. They're talking about leaving. Are you sure? Positive, sir? The ship commanders are requesting permission to withdraw. Their high command is refusing, but the requests are getting more urgent. Andy studied the tactical situation. 3 months ago, the aliens had controlled every major city on Earth. Now they controlled only their fortified bases, and even those were under constant attack. How many alien soldiers do we estimate are left? Andy asked. Less than half there. Original force, sir. And most of those are too afraid to patrol outside their bases. The human resistance had achieved something remarkable. They had defeated a technologically superior enemy without winning a single major battle. They had done it through patience, persistence, and the art of being invisible. Jake Morrison emerged from his latest hiding place as the sun set over Manhattan. He had been underground for 18 hours, waiting for an alien patrol to pass. Now the patrol was gone, and Jake had valuable intelligence about alien movements. Mary, they're pulling back from the outer checkpoints, Jake reported on his radio. Confirmed, Mary replied from her observation post. I count only 12 alien positions in the entire borough. 3 months ago, there were over 50. The aliens were retreating into smaller and smaller defensive positions. They no longer tried to patrol the city. They no longer tried to control the civilian population. They just tried to survive until their high command decided what to do with them. Amy Chun watched an alien convoy prepare to leave one of their bases. The convoy was heavily guarded, but Amy had learned that heavy guards didn't matter if you couldn't see your enemy. Amy's team had prepared a farewell gift for the aliens. As the convoy passed through the city, humans appeared from nowhere to attack it. They struck from manholes, from building windows, from piles of debris that seemed empty. The convoy made it 3 blocks before it was completely destroyed. The aliens never saw who attacked them. Ben Carter coordinated the final phase of the resistance operation. All teams, this is control. The aliens are preparing to evacuate. Do not let them leave peacefully. Human fighters emerged from hiding places all over the city. They had been invisible for 3 months, but now they wanted to be seen. They wanted the aliens to know exactly who had defeated them. Lisa Rodriguez led her team in a direct assault on the main alien command post. For the first time in the war, humans attacked in the open, using conventional tactics. But even conventional human tactics were unlike anything the aliens had experienced. The humans moved with perfect coordination, used cover like second nature, and adapted their plans in real time as the situation changed. The aliens fought back with their superior weapons, but their morale was broken. They had spent 3 months being hunted by invisible enemies. Now that they could see their enemies, the humans seemed even more terrifying. Dr. Murphy documented the final collapse of alien resistance. The enemy psychology has completely broken down, she reported. They're no longer fighting to win. They're fighting to survive long enough to escape. Up on her ship, Vextara watched her ground forces collapse. Her tactical display showed human forces appearing everywhere at once. Somehow, the humans had coordinated a planet-wide offensive without using any communications her ships could detect. Commander, all ground forces are requesting immediate evacuation, her tactical officer reported. How many bases do we still control? None, Commander. The last one fell 20 minutes ago. Vexthara looked at the planet below. She had arrived 3 months ago, expecting to add Earth to the Zephyrian Empire. Instead, she was about to become the first Zephyrian commander in history to retreat from a primitive planet. "Prepare for immediate withdrawal," she ordered. "What about our ground forces? Evacuate who we can. Leave the rest." But the humans weren't finished with their lessons, Dot. As the Zephyrian ships prepared to leave Earth's orbit, Andy Foster transmitted a message on all frequencies. It was simple, but it carried a weight that would echo across the galaxy. "This is Colonel Andy Foster, commanding the Earth Defense Forces. You came to our world expecting to find primitives with primitive weapons. You found humans. We have been perfecting the art of warfare for 3 million years. You had superior technology, but we had superior evolution." Vexthara listened to the message and realized what she was really hearing. It wasn't a victory speech. It was a warning. "You learned something today," the human continued. "You learned that technology is not enough to win a war. You learned that the most dangerous enemy is not always the one with the biggest weapons. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you cannot see coming." The message ended with words that would be remembered in Zephyrian military academies for generations. "We let you leave as a courtesy. Don't make us come looking for you." As the alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, humans emerged from hiding places all over the world. They climbed out of subway tunnels, emerged from forest burrows, stepped out of urban camouflage positions that had concealed them for months. Jake Morrison stood in Central Park, looking up at the sky where the alien ships had been. "Is it really over?" Mary asked, standing beside him. "For now," Jake replied, "but they'll be back. Maybe not these aliens, but others will come." "Will we be ready?" Jake smiled. "We're always ready. We're human." Dr. Murphy compiled her final report on the war. The humans defeated the Zephyrian invasion through superior adaptation rather than superior technology. They used camouflage, stealth, psychological warfare, and persistence to defeat an enemy with overwhelming technological advantages. But Dr. Murphy's most important observation was about what the war had taught humanity about itself. This conflict revealed that humans possess natural abilities that may be unique in the galaxy. Our capacity for patience, adaptation, and invisible warfare may be our greatest evolutionary advantage. Years later, when other alien species considered invading Earth, they would find a warning beacon in their databases. The Zephyrian Empire had marked the Sol system with a simple message: extreme caution advised. Inhabitants possess advanced natural camouflage abilities. Technological superiority may not be sufficient for conquest. But the humans had learned something too. They had learned that their greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to become invisible when they needed to wait as long as necessary, and to strike when their enemies least expected it. Earth had become known throughout the galaxy as the planet of ghosts. And ghosts, as every species would learn, were the most dangerous enemies of all. The war was over. The humans had won. And they had done it by mastering the oldest skill in their evolutionary history: the art of not being seen.